house music.
Things gon' change when I really hit the field. Undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the max. When I hang it up, they gon' have to give me plaques. Step up in the building and I only bring the facts. When I make a highlight, they gon' replay, run it back, okay? Always locked in, now I don't got time to lax. Saying he the best, he could take a lap. Batted 1,000 when you check the stats. Boy, is you ready? You ain't gotta ask.
Good morning and welcome to Just Kidding with Jaret Kappelman. That's right, it's just winning, but I'm special guest hosting today, so we figured we'd throw a nice little spin on it. So yeah, John's gonna be back next week, don't worry. But today we are live from the NSM studio and I am joined by Taylor Anderson. Taylor, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Really excited to be here today. Thanks for having me.
First appearance in the studio. You nervous, excited, ready to go?
I'm excited. I'm excited to talk football again since it's been a hot minute. I'm excited to get into the draft picks that we both have.
It is. I feel like we really haven't talked football since like the Super Bowl, and the Super Bowl feels like it was a long time ago. But you mentioned it. We're going to talk about the NFL draft today, and of course, we'll get into our Beast, Bust, and Best in the second segment of the show. But for now, we're going to start with the NFL draft. It's coming up in just about a month, so we'll just throw together a little top 5 mock draft 1.0 kind of thing. So for starters, we're just going to go down the list 1 through 5, who we think the best 5 players are right now in the draft. And I have to say it, I think we all can agree, number 1 would have to be the Clemson quarterback, Trevor Lawrence. Absolute beast. He missed some of the season due to COVID-19, but he's been lighting up the college football scene for 3 years. He has a national championship under his belt. Could arguably have another one if things went a little better for him, but, you know, COVID kind of hit and stuff. Taylor, who is your number 1 pick?
I have to agree. Number 1 is definitely going to Trevor Lawrence. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars would be insane not to take him. I think the pairing with Urban Meyer would be a great pairing for the two. I think they need to do a great job also getting good free agents and other people coming out of the draft. But Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback, in my opinion, coming out of the college draft this year. His mobility, his running skills, his arm, his height, his size, everything, and he's just had an amazing career at Clemson, and I think he can take the Jacksonville Jaguars to at least a 7-game winning season this year. Definitely different than the 1 season win this past season. I see them going 7 wins overall, maybe even more, but Trevor Lawrence definitely for number 1.
Well, you mentioned he's going to fit in with the Jags pretty well. I mean, Urban Meyer was just hired as their coach in the offseason, for those of you that might have missed that. So how do you think having a college-minded coach is going to help Trevor Lawrence? Do you think that's going to mesh really well, or you think it's going to be a little bumpy?
I think it'll be a good pairing. I think Urban Meyer knows how to respond to quarterbacks, obviously. In the college football era, like Tim Tebow and all these people coming out, I think he knows their mentality going into the NFL and how he needs to transition him. I feel like it's going to be more comfortable going from college and then going to a NFL coach who was a college football coach, a very successful college football coach. And I think it's going to be a very comfortable pairing, and I think they're going to be pretty successful in their time there. Yeah,
I would agree. I mean, realistically, the Jags probably should have never had this pick, but, the Jets decided to win some football games for some reason. So I think we'll move on to our number 2, who we have, which, the Jets do have the pick, and I think the next available player for the Jets would be the Heisman Trophy winner, Devontae Smith, wide receiver out of Alabama. Absolute stud, 3 touchdowns in the first half of the national championship game, 3 in the first half alone before he went out with an injury. I think he fit in well. They have Sam Darnold right now. They could make a trade for a quarterback or maybe sign someone still. Maybe it's a little too late for that, but I think if they don't go quarterback, I don't think they should. So I think Devontae Smith would fit well with them and kind of, build that quarterback wide receiver duo right now. But Taylor, that's my opinion on who's number 2. What do you have for your number 2?
My opinion is Justin Fields. Like you said, I think they decided to win some football games, and that might have not been their best decision because I feel like they're going to get the second best quarterback coming out of the draft. I think they are going to keep Sam Darnold, but I don't think they should. I think they should take Justin Fields and kind of start a new era there. They need way more than just a quarterback. They need a couple different people coming out of the draft and free agents as well. But he did struggle a little bit at the end of his career at Ohio State. He did have a great performance against Clemson, but I think it'd be interesting to see him learn from Sam Darnold or just go ahead and start overall. It's interesting to see what the Jets will do with this upcoming draft.
So you mentioned Justin Fields. I actually did not include him in my top 5. My biggest reasoning would be size. What would you say to the Justin Field haters? I'm not saying I'm a hater, but to people that don't have as much faith in him, what do you think is like most impressive? Because I think his size is a big issue.
Well, we talked about even before we started today that Kyler Murray has a similar size to him, and he's been pretty successful in the NFL just starting out. I just think, just look at his first year at Ohio State and how successful he was. He does have a great arm. He can run the ball, and I think he's pretty accurate, and he can definitely air some balls out, which I think the Jets need a little bit more of a refreshment right now. So I just say, let's just sit back and see what happens.
Now, just a bold statement. Do you think there's any chance the Jags would take him at 1 because Urban Meyer has experience with Justin Fields, or do you think like there's a 0 chance it's 100% Trevor Lawrence?
I think it's 100% Trevor Lawrence. I think they don't really want to deal with the backlash of not picking him.
I would agree. I think it would be a huge mistake. I mean, I think it would be crazy to see Lawrence not go as the number 1 overall pick. But we talked our first 2 picks. I kind of want to go into our third, and this is where we start to get some discrepancy. The Bengals are on the clock there, and that's an interesting pick because they probably should go offensive lineman, but I think the best player overall would be Jamar Chase out of LSU. He was probably better than Justin Jefferson 2 years ago, Justin Jefferson just had a monster rookie season with the Vikings, and he missed last season. He got injured, and then COVID and everything, he decided to sit out, and smart decision. Might as well protect. Not like he's getting paid to play in LSU. He's not insured there, so might as well protect your body and make your money. I think Jamar Chase he might be better than Devontae Smith. I think Jamar Chase has good size, good speed, good hands. He's, the 5-tool player that you're looking for. I think Jamar Chase is going to be a stud in the NFL. I think he would fit really well. Taylor, who's your number 3?
So my number 3, you've actually already mentioned, I'm going Devontae Smith, number 3. I think his Heisman ranking and winning, I think that has a lot to do with how teams like to go into this and who they're picking. I think the status kind of helps him a lot. Not to mention he is a very great wide receiver. He had a lot of accomplishments at Alabama, and he's very talented. He's fast. He just is astronomical at the wide receiver position, and I think he's the best, in my opinion, wide receiver going into the draft. But I mean, I agree with you as well. I think these 2 wide receivers are the top going into the draft.
I did misspeak there. My brain's kind of all over the place. The Dolphins actually had the 3rd pick. Bengals had the 5th pick. That was my bad. But it's something that would be interesting with the Dolphins because I know the Dolphins have been in this, Tua for Watson talk, Tua for this, Tua for that. Tua's going to be the starter. Tua won't be the starter. Ryan Fitzpatrick's going to be the starter. What if Tua could get a former player in Devontae Smith? Do you think that would make Tua more comfortable? Because the Dolphins, in all, were shaky at the quarterback position. That was probably their number 1 biggest issue. That's probably why they missed the playoffs. They could not get consistent play out of the quarterback position. Do you think having a familiar face would be good for Tua, or do you think they should go in the direction you were talking about with which you mentioned Devontae Smith, or do you think they should go in the direction of like an offensive lineman to protect Tua? What do you think?
So actually, when I was making these decisions, when I was thinking about Devontae Smith and I saw that it was the Dolphins, and then I realized obviously Tua was there, I think that's what kind of played into the matchup as well. I think that's what's going to help him go there, and that's what's going to help them pick him. I feel like it's just like comfortable for them. They already know how the matchup is, and I think it would be pretty fun to watch them 2 together.
Yeah, I think it's a great pairing. I mean, always having like that familiar face and someone you're comfortable with would be big. But again, like, it's just Matt, this is just a disaster for the Texans. Your quarterback wants out. J.J. Watt just left. You traded this pick for, I believe it was Tunsil, and we all know how that worked out. So, like, and then you had a bad season, so then you lose your 3rd pick. It's like, this could not be worse for the Texans. The Dolphins went 10-6 and had the 3rd pick, and they probably should find themselves in the playoffs next year. I would assume so, assuming they don't pull a Miami Dolphins, which, I mean, Taylor, I think we all know the Dolphins tend to dolphin. And they should have made the playoffs, but they decided to choke. Let's move on to the 4th best player. The pick does go to the Atlanta Falcons, but the 4th best player in the draft, I have quarterback Zach Wilson out of BYU, 33 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Absolute monster season last year out of BYU. So I have Zach Wilson ahead of Justin Fields just because I think he's a more pro-style quarterback. I think BYU had a really, really solid season. I just don't see how Justin Fields, I think the style in which Zach Wilson plays is a lot more NFL ready than what Justin Fields plays. But then again, we've seen quarterbacks like Kyler Murray, Lamar Jackson succeed. So I could be wrong. I don't know if the Falcons will go quarterback because they still do have Matt Ryan. But I do feel Zach Wilson is the next best player in the draft. Taylor, what are your thoughts on the 4th overall?
I too said for number 4, the Falcons are going to pick Zach Wilson from BYU. I think Matt Ryan has one more year, and I think they want to have someone that's a veteran in that position go ahead and teach and learn from, and I think Zach Wilson would be great at that position. Like you said, he had an amazing year at BYU, and his last year he had career-high touchdowns and passing yards, and I think he's just one of those players that, yes, BYU, it doesn't really get a lot of talk, but he's getting a lot of talk. He's a great quarterback coming in, and I think learning from Matt Ryan and probably starting the year after next, I think he's going to do great things for the Falcons, and I think it's just the time for the franchise to kind of move on, start new, fresh, and I think that he'll be perfect for that position.
Do you think Matt Ryan's career was kind of over when they lost that Super Bowl?
As a Patriots fan, I'm happy to say yes.
I hate Patriot fans. I'm
fine.
sorry. I just
fine.
I don't like them.
It's fine.
It's
Whatever.
Sean Green, my brother, all of them.
Whatever.
They're sick. They're sick.
Okay.
All of
Okay.
them. No, it's okay. Let's move on to the 5th player, and that'll be our last player that we'll mention today. I'm gonna go Kyle Pitts. He's an absolute stud out of UF. I don't like UF, but I like Kyle Pitts. I kind of hope he lands with the Eagles, so I hope the Bengals do go offensive lineman here because they need to protect Joe Burrow because, as you saw, his leg got absolutely destroyed last season. But I do think Kyle Pitts might be the best pass catcher in the draft. Like, obviously, he's a tight end. He's not going to be as great at route running, but, like, blocking and stuff. But pass catching-wise, I mean, you saw Florida's numbers with and without Pitts. They were a much better team offensively. Kyle Trask performed much better when Pitts was in the lineup. So I have to take Kyle Pitts as my 5th overall player. Taylor, who's yours?
Yeah, as a transfer student from UF, I hate to talk so highly of them, but I am too taking Kyle Pitts. He actually averaged 2 more yards per carry than Devontae Smith this past season. I think he's good all around the field. He's just a monster player, not really just having to do anything with him being a tight end. People have him as like a athlete that we haven't really seen before, tight end. They're not even comparing him to Gronk or anything. They're comparing him to himself, and he's going to start this new era of tight ends, and I think he's just going to be monstrous, and him and Burrow would be pretty fun to watch. So definitely Kyle Pitts, best tight end coming out of the college draft at this moment.
Yeah, I'd agree more. And, like, I think it's going to be interesting because, like, a lot of stuff's going to build up. There was no NFL Combine this year due to COVID. It was kind of all at pro day. So, like, I guess that national scouting ground is it's different this year than it usually is. But there could be some picks that we might be very surprised at come draft Thursday. That's still a couple weeks away. We still got a whole month and a couple weeks. But I think it's going to be interesting just to see who does what. I'm really interested to see what the Jets do. I'm really interested to see what the Bengals do. And I'm interested to see who trades in. Taylor, you have any closing thoughts on NFL draft?
I am just excited to see how the quarterbacks match up this year. There's a lot of teams that need quarterbacks, and I'm interested to see how the trading is going to go on. I know it's kind of just like this big jumbled mess once everything started, but it's excited to see what's going to be happening, and I can't wait for football to start again.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe your Patriots will trade up and draft Trevor Lawrence. But unfortunately, we'll have to wait and see, and that's all the time we have for right now. But when we come back, we're going to talk about our Beast, Bust, and Best of the Week. Stay with us.
Here's the story of a show creator who was gearing up to form a bigger crew.
One's a California guy,
a god of graphics.
One hosted Girls on Deck.
It's a story of a 4-year nightmare, which is finally coming to an end. Thank God.
And the new kid, a Packers lover.
Tampa forever. So then one day all these people work together to face a year unlike one that's ever been. And his group rebranded in Orlando. That's the way we all became HTFN. 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 That's the way we became HTFN. That's blasphemy!
And welcome back to Just Kidding with Jaret Kappelman. That's right, if you're just now tuning in. John Whitley had class today, and a little unfortunate. We had to move up our time today, so he had to call in Jaret Kappelman to come host. But we're still with Taylor Anderson. She's absolutely killing it right now, and we're going to talk about our Beast, bust, and best of the week. So without further ado, Taylor, why don't you kick us off with your beast of the week?
So my beast of the week is Steph Curry. After his all-star performance, we saw the three-point contest, and he's just an amazing shooter, arguably the best to ever do it shooting-wise, and he's just fun to watch, and he carried that out going into the regular all-star game with shots taken from almost half court. Half-court shot going in against Lillard before halftime. He's just exciting to watch. He's had such a great season so far and just breaking records and on the way to break even more records in his young career. Obviously, the Warriors have been struggling a bit the past couple seasons, but he's just stayed just so fun to watch. And I think just his shootout performance got some excitement. I mean, not that much crowd noise, obviously, from not that many people able to be at the All-Star game this year. But I think it was just super fun to watch, and he just continuously breaks barriers in the shooting dimension of the NBA.
I mean, what did you think of the All-Star weekend? It was weird without fans, I thought. Because, All-Star events to me are just for the fans, and there were no fans, so it was kind of weird.
Yeah, the dunk contest, I have to say, kind of underwhelmed me a little bit. I kind of look forward to it, but again, I think it just had to do with the crowd not being there and the judging and everything like that. But hopefully next season, the All-Star game will be back better than ever.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, it was still cool to watch, but I agree. Fans got to be there. My beast of the week would be Masio Teague out of Baylor. Absolute stud over the weekend. He dropped 35 against Texas Tech for the Baylor Bears. He's, his last 3 games, he's averaging a little over 21 points. He's shooting 55 from the field. He's absolutely killing it. Baylor's one of my favorites going into March Madness and going into the conference tournaments this weekend. If Baylor wins the Big 12, I have predicted them to, they're probably going to be my pick to win March Madness. They're really hot right now, and Teague's the reason for it. He's just an absolute monster. I mean, they've played 4 straight games against top 25 opponents. They won 3 of 4. They lost to Kansas. It's a little tough, but Baylor, they look really strong down the stretch. And, I always say March is all about who's hot at the right moment, and I think the Baylor Bears are hot right now. I mean, Taylor, I don't know if you caught that game, but he dropped, 35 points. Absolutely just beasted on them.
Yeah, they're doing great right now. I'm really excited to go into March Madness and get everything started with it being cut short last year. I'm excited to see what teams are going to rise to the occasion and not let the excitement of last season getting cut short affect that. And I just can't wait to see how all these brackets are going to bust or end up in people's favor.
Yeah, I still can't believe March Madness was canceled. That was such a sad day last year. But Taylor, we just talked about our beast. I think we got to go to the bust now. Who's really letting you down?
So sadly, as a big college baseball fan and a UCF student, I have to say the UCF baseball team has been letting me down. Last season, it got cut short, but they were doing so great. They were 15-3 at this time, and right now they're 3-8. I thought coming off of that hot win against number 1 ranked at the time, Ole Miss, winning that whole series from that weekend, I thought it was going to give a little oomph to the team, and it's kind of backfired a little bit. They're just not doing great. I don't really have an answer as to what's going wrong because there is so much talent and there hasn't been any major changes made from last season to this season. So, I mean, I was just coming into the season really hopeful because the season was cut short last year and I was really looking forward to it and looking forward to some great plays. And there has been great plays, but I just think the record and just letting errors and last-minute decisions come down to losing these games, they're definitely busting for me at the moment.
Do you think it's because Dalton Wingo decided to just not quit, but retire? I mean, do you think that is playing a huge factor on the team?
I think it may have a factor, but at the same time, there's just too much talent. I feel like it's being wasted at this time. I think people just maybe need to put a little more effort into it. Sad to say, but I don't think that should be a major factor to this team just doing as poorly as they're doing right now.
Do you think it's Lovelady to blame here, or do you think it's, just performance issues? Baseball's a weird game. I mean, you can be the best team and still not win. It's honestly who just comes out to play that day. But, who do you throw the blame on, the players or the coaching?
I mean, because of the record right now, I'm going to have to throw it onto the coaching. You have these great players that are just trying to perform. I don't know if there is anything different that needs to be going through, game planning and watching film and practice. But I guess we just have to put it on the coach at this time. But I think some big changes need to be made or this program may be taking a downfall soon.
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it, 15-3 last season and off to a 3-8 start. It's just like they're playing down to the opponent and not up. Like you saw, they went into Ole Miss and they played up to the opponent and, lost 2 to Stetson, swept by Liberty, 4-game losing streak. I think that's a really good bust. I would have to say my bust of the week, though. It's tough to say, but my bust of the week would have to be Blake Griffin. I had a bunch in my head and I had to go with Blake Griffin because what a loser Blake Griffin is. I'm sorry. You're an absolute loser. 2 thumbs down from me. 2 of them. Thumbs down. Blake Griffin. For those of you that don't know, Blake Griffin decided to sign with the Brooklyn Nets this weekend during All-Star Weekend, and why? You're ring chasing. And what's going to be even funnier is when Blake Griffin and the Nets don't win. It's like this is Boogie Cousins all over again. Blake Griffin is modern day Boogie Cousins. Even though Boogie Cousins is still modern day, Blake Griffin is even worse. You're absolutely terrible. You did nothing in Detroit. You really haven't been good since you won the dunk contest, which you dunked over a car, the hood of a car. It wasn't really that impressive. But Blake Griffin, you're a loser. That's all I have to say. You're an absolute loser. Taylor, I don't know what your opinion is. That's all I got.
I mean, at least you were sweet about it. But yeah, I'd have to agree. I don't really understand the decisions that he's been making lately, and I just think he started off kind of hot in his career, and he's just slowly going down. I think he's sadly kind of getting a little unforgettable. But yeah, I agree. I wouldn't say 2 thumbs down losers. That's a little harsh coming from me, but I see where you're coming from.
I mean, it's just like you already have Kevin Durant.
Yeah.
You already have James Harden. You already have Kyrie Irving. It's like, and then DeAndre Jordan. It's like a reunion in Brooklyn, but come on. You're doing all of this just to lose to LeBron and the Lakers. I still think the Lakers are the favorite. I still don't think the Nets are good. They don't play good. They don't play good defense, and defense wins championships no matter what sport. So, Blake Griffin, I hate to say it, you're a loser. And I hope you see this, and I hope you can prove me wrong, because that's about all I got. I mean, I hope our social media person tweets at you and says, Blake Griffin, you're a loser, because Blake Griffin, you're a loser. Yeah. Moving on to the best thing from the week, though. Taylor, what was the best thing you saw from the week?
So again, we're going back to the NBA All-Star Game. I'm going Mike Conley replacing Booker and his performance in the 3-point shootout against the best shooter right now of all time, Steph Curry, and only losing in the final shot. I think he just proved a lot. I don't think people are expecting much from him. I mean, I'm sure a couple people were, but it caught me by surprise, and it made the 3-point contest definitely more interesting and one of the more fun things to watch. And I think he just kind of took the role over Booker and ran with it and did a great job. And I just think that shooting against Steph and putting that pressure on him and making it more interesting and fun to watch, and then once again only losing by 1 shot, Steph's final shot, I think that's pretty great. So that's my best of this week.
I mean that props to the NBA still. I know I said it was weird without fans, but I still think the way they handled the Embiid and Simmons situation, and I mean, from what I've heard, no one out of that has tested positive for COVID. I mean, I think they handled it pretty well, and the athletes still put on a show. Yes, it's different because it was a virtual show because no one was really there in person besides family. But hey, props to the NBA. And as you said, that was a dramatic finish. Steph Curry, last shot. The commentators had me dying. They're like, oh, he's got to make it. And, his first round, he put up, 31 in his first round. Curry's the best shooter. You said it. But Mike Conley stepping up for D-Book, who couldn't make it to the All-Star game. That was very impressive. Now, for my best of the week, I have a couple, but we'll start with the obvious one. Paint the picture for you. Sunday, umpiring with my boy Johnny Jackson. I don't know where to start. It was 4th game of the day, last game. Freezing, by the way. It was 55 with 20-mile-per-hour winds. But it was 12-10 in the last inning. The home team was hitting. They were down 2. They had 2nd and 3rd no outs. So I'm thinking we're going to have to play extras here, or hopefully they can just win and I can go home. Ball hit to center field. Center fielder drops it, throws to the third base, tags the kid running from second. He's out. Tags the kid when the kid from third decides to run home. So he's out. And then he throws it to the shortstop covering third because the kid that hit the ball is trying to run to third. And he tags him out. Triple play. I get to go home. Day's over. 2 very happy umpires.
Here's the story of a show creator who was gearing up to form a bigger crew.
One's a California guy.
A god of graphics.
One hosted Girls on Deck.
It's a story of a 4-year nightmare, which is finally coming to an end. Thank God.
And the new kid, a Packers lover.
Tampa forever.
So then one day all these people work together to face a year unlike one that's ever been. And his group rebranded in Orlando. That's the way we all became HTFN. 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 That's the way we became HTFN. That's Hey, welcome back, guys. Sorry for that. We had technical difficulties there. It seems like the microphones have cut out. It seems that we have them back online. Taylor, can you hear me? Are you back?
I can hear you. I'm back.
Okay, I don't know if we have Taylor back quite yet. We're still going to work on that. I think she can hear me, but I don't know if we can hear her. We're going to work on that. Hopefully, technical difficulties, we can't really do much. But as I was saying, my best of the week came from, umpiring when we turned an 8-6 or an 8-5-6 triple play to end the day, and that was, super, super exciting. Got to go home early. I don't know if productions let me know if Taylor's mics has come back on. I mean, some stuff you just can't control. I mean, that's the nature of show business. It's the nature of live television and stuff. You can't control these aspects that pop up. Production, do we know Taylor's back? Taylor, are you back?
Am I back?
I think you're back.
Oh my God, I'm back.
All right,
Wow.
Because I can hear you, so I think that means they
Back
can
like
hear
I
you.
never
So,
left.
hey, technical difficulties, but as I was saying, a triple play to end the day in 11U baseball, that's super exciting.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I mean, I think it's really fun to watch little kids play baseball. I'm sure you did a great job umping, but I'm glad you got to go home early because standing out there in the cold, not my vibe.
It wasn't early. We were like 30 minutes behind. It was a disaster. I was so ready to go home. But Johnny and I are probably the worst umpires in the world. But another thing that was really cool was last night, hit a home run in my softball game. We got smoked, but we didn't care because we were locked into our playoff spot, like our seed and everything. So we were just having a good time. But hit an absolute bomb last night, 350 feet. I know you're shaking your head, but come on, that's impressive, 350 feet.
Yeah, I mean, that's great. Maybe you should work on your baseball skills and join the UCF baseball team.
They could use me. They could. I mean, they told me that they didn't need me 4 years ago, but that was 4 years ago, so who knows?
Exactly.
But Taylor, any closing thoughts? I know we had some technical difficulties and we rolled with it, but closing thoughts on today's show.
Closing thoughts, I just think that the NBA did a great job over the weekend with All-Stars and dealing with COVID protocols and just dealing with the no crowd thing. I think they made it exciting. I think they made it exciting for the players, which overall showed a great performance and show. I'm also very excited for the NFL draft coming up. I know every other hour I get an update on my phone talking about who's signing, who's trading, who's free agents, everything going on. So I'm very excited for that time to start and then just kind of getting football back rolling. I know we're in kind of a dead spot right now, and then March Madness is coming up. So I'm just really excited for sports in the upcoming months.
Yeah, it's we're getting back into the swing of sports. Unfortunately, though, that's all the time we have today on Just Kidding with Jaret Kappelman. Next week, we'll be back with Just Winning with John Whitley, and you won't have to deal with me ever again. Just kidding. I'm the executive producer, and I oversee everything, so you still have to deal with me. But Taylor, thank you so much for coming out. I'm sure John will have you back in the future, and we'll get you on other shows because, yeah, it was great talk today. But that's all the time we have for now, and we will see you next week on Just Winning.
When I really hit the field, undefeated chance, man, you know what's the deal. Tryna find a kid, I'm in the field doing drills. Boy, you just a sucker, you ain't never keep it real. 3 rings in my hand, I'm a warrior to the